Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining episode 2 of Priority Standing. I'm Tiffany Reed. I'm here with
Nicole Chapoteau.
Hey, guys. It's J-Rod.
And I'm Jennifer Yee.
In case you missed last week's episode, we are 4 fashion industry insiders journeying through our second decade working in the industry. On this podcast, we're going to be talking about the past, the future of fashion, and everything in between. In case you missed last week's episode, which was our launch, so we're super excited about having episode 2. Yay to us. In case you missed last week's episode, which was our launch, we covered everything from Black is King's cultural fashion references to WAP's sexy as fuck wardrobe and all of the fashion trailblazers who set the tone for each of those looks. So please go check it out. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, etc. We're all over the place. So go check out our last episode. In this week's episode, we're going to be contemplating a few things. The New York Times article called Sweatpants Forever, how the fashion industry collapsed from a COVID. And then we're going to be discussing 2 infamous dresses that have taken over the entire month of August. So before we get into the New York Times article, do you guys want to guess which dresses I'm talking about? I know you guys know, but do you really know what I'm talking about?
I definitely know what we're talking about. I know the 2 dresses. They're burned into my mind.
Well, you guys definitely know both dresses because you shot both dresses. So,
I feel
at least
like
the one.
I only shot one of them.
You don't even have to work in fashion to know the dresses, honestly. You just have to be on the internet.
You literally just have to be on the internet. So the 2 dresses we're talking about are the Fendi pre-fall dress that was literally shot in 5 editorials, I believe. It's trending in all editorials. I personally shot it for our cover with Kalani that Joshua Simmons styled for Bustle. But it was also seen on the cover of Elle with Bella Hadid that Alex White styled. It was also seen on Lily Reinhart in Flaunt magazine. It was also seen on Alicia Keys in Style that Jason Bolden styled. And finally, Yo-Yo wore it in Elle Singapore. So that thing is internationally known.
And wait, it was also shot on Adrienne Warren for In Style on the inside. So maybe I set a trend.
Okay, credits.
We're also all
I'm just
wearing
saying,
the dress
it was an
now.
earlier issue.
Since we don't have a video version for this episode, just imagine us all sitting here
We're
in the
all
dress.
in Fendi pre-fall.
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Except
sheer
for J-Rod.
It's
Exactly.
the sheer dress with the ruffles.
I'm in nothing sheer, nothing ruffled, but just imagine it. If you can.
It's lucky they made it in so many colors because,
True.
So, well, they made it in other colors, but it was shot 5 times in red. So anyway, the point of this conversation we want to get into is 1, how did that happen? 2, is COVID just really came in and messed up the way we've had functioned for years as fashion editors? I mean, do you guys want to kind of get into what would have happened, I don't know, 5-10 years ago if this would have been the case?
Not even 5-10 years ago. I'll cut in.
5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, I'd say I'd say December of 2019, maybe even January of 2020. If anyone had shot that dress like that, it would have just been like people losing jobs, heads rolling.
Yes,
totally.
Because the trend is,
Yeah.
well, not the trend, but what magazines do is because we want to give the readers something different. So if there's something that we're going to shoot on a celebrity or a model for a cover, we let the brands know, like, hey, we'd love to call this for a cover exclusive. We shot it. It's going to be our cover. Or sometimes you just go ahead and put it on a cover hold if it has the potential to be the cover. So that's what we all do, from digital to print. We all do it. And it makes sense because you don't want to go to the newsstand or you don't want to look at your internet or your Instagram feed and see the same dress on 5 different people. So we call for an exclusive. And the brands appreciate it because they'd love to get something else shot from their collections. But due to COVID, samples were really limited. And I feel like brands were just working for what was around. Like, I know I was texting other editors like, hey, what Prada samples do you have? Can I borrow some? Like, we were all working together. So I think this is kind of why everyone shot the dress for a cover, because it's a beautiful dress.
And there was only sample available.
Yeah, they're like, the samples in New York.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful, but it definitely was the only thing available.
And
for sure.
I think it's like one thing from our perspective, it's kind of hilarious just to see like this Fendi dress everywhere when we've worked under this system of exclusivity. I mean, when I started in fashion, I think people were like faxing contracts and stuff about exclusivity. And then now there's this pandemic, and lo and behold, you know, PR people were trafficking samples out of their homes. And there's, you know, 3 things that was going to all the different magazines, and there was flight restrictions and shipping restrictions, and it was kind of just mass chaos. And in the end, I don't know, it's like, what does exclusivity mean anymore in this climate?
I know there were some PR people who were biking to the office.
Exactly.
To be safe, putting on basically a hazmat suit to grab looks, like for me, which I completely appreciated. Daniel Matamella at Balenciaga. I really appreciated it. But it's just like, I from like personally, I know we kind of stopped calling cover exclusives because we just knew that people were working with what happened to just be already out and about, because no one thought that they weren't ever going to get to go back to the office.
And also, I think people need to take into account that Fendi is Italy based, and Italy was hit very hard in the beginning. So the idea of getting something from Italy or an Italian based company was pretty crazy. And so,
But then the question is, when you guys obviously requested the look from PR, did anybody say, hey, this is on hold for another cover? Or did the PR even give you that information? Or it was just like, we can confirm this. Yes, we can confirm this, and just making confirmations.
I mean, I can speak on my behalf. We definitely were not informed about it being shot, because I definitely think we could have pivoted and we had some other key options. Obviously, we chose a dress because it was beautiful and it looked the best on her and it made for the best cover image. But I think having the information, I think people probably would have chose differently on their selects of which, you know, look they would have ran. But I didn't get too upset or angry about it, because, you know, the reality is we're still working in fashion. It's still a pandemic. The economy is like what it is. It's like, for that to be the argument right now, it's just not worth having, right? Like, I think you have to think bigger picture. So I think in times when things are normal and you have the energy to like fight for these things, then yes. But the fact that like all the factors that Nick mentioned, Jen mentioned, like, no one had samples. There was limited samples in New York. People were putting their lives at risk to get us samples. So with that being the case, obviously having a fight about not having this item be exclusive, it just wasn't worth it from my point of view. I would have loved to have the exclusive on that dress, but it wasn't an option.
And it's also just being respectful. Like, people are doing the best that they can. So,
but then, like, do you guys think that, okay, so the precedent has been set, or when we get back into, you know, the normal world, whatever that's going to be, then things are going to go back to the same, where exclusives are in play, and, you know, PR is going to matter, you know, like if a certain magazine is shooting this dress and then they're not going to let somebody else shoot it. Like, do you think it's going to go back there, or do you think, because everything is going to change. I don't think the industry is going to go back to the norm that we knew it before COVID. But I'm wondering, like, which things will stay post-COVID and which things will go back. Do you think
the exclusivity of covers is coming back?
Exactly. Same.
Offices
that cannot happen again. Yes.
No.
As soon as the office is open.
I mean, big major win for Fendi, but
I was going to say, who came out?
It's not going to happen.
Fendi came out the winner because getting that dress shot so many times, they're the true winner in this. You know,
they really are.
I mean, can you imagine thinking like, oh, we only have this one dress. What are we gonna do? And then it ends up on 1 million covers, which was probably like, you know. But
I think what Nick's saying is true. Like, I've already asked for not exclusive, but I'm like, can I just know if it's even been shot up for another cover option? So I have so that I can make the right decision, right? Like that doesn't mean that I won't choose the best image at this point. I definitely would like to go back to that. But at this point, it's like, are we out of COVID and out of these new rules right now, or do we have a few months of just kind of navigating still?
I do hope that now fashion will be more forgiving with these sorts of rules. Like COVID is not over. I mean, everyone's working from home for the foreseeable future, or at least until January 2021. And I know it's very easy for fashion people just to fall into old habits and like, I want, but I do really hope that fashion does kind of temper itself, at least for the moment. You know?
I think we're all being reasonable, because I know there's just things like, I've experienced shoots since, this summer when things have slightly gone back to normal, especially in New York and in Europe, where it's just there's shipping delays or things like that. So I'm just more forgiving, or I've kind of come to more like, okay, what do you have available? Like, what do we have access to? And let me see if it can work for the shoot.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then I'm just like, unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass. But I think we're all much more forgiving. And I notice with myself for doing shoots that I'm not calling in as much as I used to, because it has to come to my house, and I don't want my house to be a closet. So I'm just like, I know I'm going to shoot that, and that's the things I'm fighting for, as opposed to in the past where you'd just be like, I need 6 looks from Chanel, and like knowing I'm going to use 1. So like it's just working differently now.
And I think everyone, I feel really in my gut, like so deeply about this, but if you don't need it, don't get it in. It's just like, please, like, let's cut out all the unnecessary stuff if you really don't need it, because you put the shippers' lives at risk. You put the messengers' lives at risk. There's just so many things, so many factors that go into getting stuff for shoots. It's just, let's reduce. Save money, save time.
Also, I've noticed that the brands are making less like of the fantasy and the editorial pieces, and they're making more commercial items, or like things that are coming down the runway. They're not necessarily going to make that sparkly gown. It's more of a basic or an item that seems more of a new classic or a staple that's coming in, as opposed to like that dress that had feathers and bells and whistles. Those are they're like that's canceled. Right. Here's a cotton button-down shirt.
Yeah, I mean, but it's odd to kind of present a collection in that way when the world is suffering. Obviously you want beautiful things and you want aspirational pieces, but also like you can't have these extravagant moments and then like people are literally like suffering and like, losing jobs and not making money. Yeah. So you have to be respectful of it. And I just can't imagine like houses would continue on, in the same vein that they have been in the past. Like there has to be a shift. I'm just so curious as to how much of the industry is going to come back, because so much has changed. And even just something as small as like an exclusive for a cover, like with inclusivity being so big right now, it's like, do you think they're going to care about exclusivity? Like maybe they want to give like smaller magazines more of a chance. So they'll give you that option as a cover, as well as give, the big names like Vanity Fair the option as a cover. So I'm just very like curious to see how that's going to happen, because it's such a struggle with like inclusivity versus exclusivity now. And with the shift...
J-Rod, can you explain, just because I think, obviously we know what exclusivity for a cover look is. Can you just explain for those who are like listening and don't really know what that means? I don't know if we've been clear yet.
Yeah, of course. And again, I think like all of us, especially like starting in magazines, like we always knew, like if you were to do a cover shoot and you have a dress on your board and you requested from the PR, they would initially let you know, hey, no, you can't get look 22 because Vogue has it for a cover try, or, Bazaar has it for a cover try. So you'd have to choose another option. And if that's what you really wanted, then you literally like be in touch with the magazine and you'd find out from the sittings assistant, like, hey, did they shoot that dress? If not, then like now you can get it, like send it over. So magazines literally did not want the same dress on, the same cover for the same month. That was literally a big fashion no-no. That was like a faux pas. It was like very...
Or before.
Down, yeah. You don't want it on different actresses on the same month. Like you want your book to be specific. So you want your own dress, you want your own cover. And literally if somebody shot that dress, then it's dead. So you shoot it one time and then nobody can shoot that again. So that's the exclusive part of how the industry has been, acting, before post-COVID.
Yeah.
So.
And it's usually up into, like, say if you wanted to shoot it for the August issue. So you call for a cover exclusive up until through August. So, like, if anyone else wanted to shoot it for their cover, fine, they can shoot it after your August issue comes out. But most people won't do that because they'll see that it's, like we've called the cover exclusive. We have it up and through August. Every once in a while, some will call it just period for the season. Some people call cover exclusive like globally, or like no one can shoot it even inside the magazine or on the cover. So it's just kind of making it more special, which kind of leads to how the industry has been moving, and this changes in this like New York Times article that came out called, I think it was Sweatpants Forever, which Tiffany can probably address a little bit more on.
Sure.
Well, for one thing, we're all in sweatpants now and like t-shirts. So
we're all in white t-shirts.
No, I said I was wearing the Fendi dress. I'm wearing the Fendi dress.
I just changed out of the Fendi dress and put on my t-shirt. Yes, I'm in my second look now. No, the article was basically about, even before the pandemic, the fashion industry as a whole, started to unravel. I mean, that's the case that they made. I think that's a bit extreme to say, but fine. I understand what they were saying about the industry not being what it used to be. And, obviously it's dramatically been affected by social media and living in the digital era. So fashion was shifting and trying to keep up with the world that we're in now. They worded it as unravel. I would say fashion industry was shifting and trying to adapt based on the times we're in. But so before the pandemic, they're unraveling. And what happens now that no one has a reason to dress up are people wearing sweatpants. Is a demand for this like fantasy world and things that are very exclusive. Like, is that out? And now it's about being inclusive and being comfortable and like it being, much more lax and laid back since we are in the house. So I don't know. What do you guys think about the article?
Or Nick, you go first.
No, Jen, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I think one of the main parts of the article that stuck out to me was how, and I keep hearing this too, that fashion is in this giant crisis, collapse. And if you really think about it, that article just goes to show that, is there really a crisis or is it just common sense? I always say you have to have a lot of common sense to work in fashion. It's like, is this just common sense? Produce what the people want. It's like in the end, the clothes have to be cute. The clothes have to be something that you want to wear. It's like fashion dug itself into this hole with exclusive. And then if, in that article, it addresses that stores wanted designers to add all these special doodads and bits and bobs and rips and whatever to like a t-shirt or whatnot. So it would be exclusive to that store. Yet no one was thinking.
Dogs, kittens, Minnie Mouse.
Kittens.
Novelty is the word they use.
Yeah. Disney characters. When it was like, is that what people really want? Or it's just fashion, getting in itself, it's, in their own minds and it's what stores want. But is that really what the people wanted? And I think that's what people are finding out now.
I think that the people want some sort of exclusivity still, right? Like, that's just who we are, human nature. It's like not just with fashion, it's all aspects of our lives. We want to feel special. We want to feel like the other. So if fashion is your thing, then that's your way of feeling like I'm special, I'm exclusive, I have like the thing that's sold out. So I think for some stores to have the crazy like character shirts or rips or whatever the novelty item is, works when they have a cult following. It's when the stores that don't have these huge cult followings and their shoppers don't shop like that, right? They don't stand in line for exclusive items, then it makes no sense as to why they would be creating these capsule collections.
And then I think also as editors, you find like you can't just find a white t-shirt, how hard that is to find, or you just can't find a black turtleneck. And that's why, because I think it just went too far with everyone trying to be exclusive. You can no longer find basics.
But so like exclusive, and then the article also talked about how like, obviously like the world has sped up. So even like when we started, the world is much faster. Obviously digital has played a huge role in that. And people want everything now. And that's why like, they created resort and pre-fall or, cruise. It's like the consumer just wants something like new and fresh, like always. And I don't think that they could keep up with the demand for that. But also it's like the bit of how fast fashion was created. And so I kind of question like exclusivity. It's like, do people really want exclusivity? Because they literally jump and attack on all of that fast fashion stuff. So like Fashion Nova or Zara or any of these.
You're not going to bring Fashion Nova up in this call.
Yeah, but listen, but it's a key part of the industry, and it's a lot of what has happened to these stores like Neiman's and Barney's and Saks is because all those novelty exclusive items. It's like, no, these girls and these guys, they just want something that's going to be mass produced, something that's going to look like novelty, cheaper, and they can buy it, they can wear it instantly, and then they can literally, trash it and then go to the next thing and
which
order
is
something.
Highly problematic.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, again, this is like, do people really want exclusivity, or are they fine with like this mass produced, era that we're living in of just everything instant and then I'm done with it and then I want the next thing? Because you can't afford that being exclusive and like buying novelty and like these amazing pieces at like the Barney's.
I mean, I find that this like produce has, and especially with fast fashion, has caused like a big problem with the environment. So I'm hoping that will shift. And I think that designers are looking like, we don't need to make all of these things. Like I just remember stories from my grandmother saying like, we went shopping. It was special. You bought something, that you loved, and it was special, and you wore it for a long time. Like, have you ever noticed, like, in old houses, the closets are small? Because they didn't buy a lot of stuff. Yeah. They bought things that were special and meant something. And I think that might be a return to that. I mean, there will always be fast fashion, and part of that is not everyone has the ability to buy expensive things. Like, you don't have the means. So like they need the Zaras, the H&Ms, the Gaps, all of those things to exist. But I think that they need to do their part and not produce so much of it and like keep it going. And it's like, maybe they start to look at making it more special so that you feel like you're getting a special item, how those like exclusive, I don't know. It's really tricky because I can see it in a way like everyone wanted those Dior sneakers and everyone was mad because they were like, well, we made 7, so you can't get it. And like, now they're on StockX for like $10,000. Like, so you're like, wow, these things are crazy. So I see how the brands gravitate towards doing that. But then you have like another designer like Telfar who made this tote. He doesn't believe like things should be ridiculously price because it has a designer name on it, but the bag sells out. And he did this amazing thing by making, what was it called?
The bag security
secure the bag. Bag security program, which is like very catchy and amazing. It was like, you know what? Everyone wants this bag. It sells out as soon as they drop a new one. Not even a new color. They don't even have to drop a new color. They'd be like, we made some more. We have some available. Try and buy it. And they're selling out. So he just did this thing where you're like, you know, I gave you 24 hours. You want one of my bags. I'm going to make it for you. It's going to come sometime before January. You'll get the bag. You want a bag, you can get the bag. But I feel like it's like in a smarter way. Like he's only making what it's like supply and demand. The demand was there. Right. I'm going to make exactly that amount instead of making like, now I made 1 million of these bags and now I have to like go crazy trying to sell them because I overproduce them. It's like I'm producing exactly what the consumer wants, the exact amount. I'm not like wasting any money. I'm not wasting any materials. I'm not killing the environment. I'm making exactly what is needed, which I think is fantastic.
I think that that's such a smart business way to approach reacting to what your consumers want, right? Like, I think that if we think about like a few seasons ago or a couple of years back when all these designers started to do like see now, buy now, because they were trying to address like sales, plummeting and then producing so much stuff and it going on clearance and they just wanted to produce the things, but they didn't get the formula right? Like, I still don't think that see now, buy now was successful.
No one understands.
No one gets it.
But it makes total sense, though. Like, for me, it makes total sense. Yeah, because you're literally showing the collection in the season that you can wear the collection. So you're buying into what you want to wear now, as opposed to seeing it and then buying it, wearing it a season later.
But they still have to make it like 6 months before that you actually see it.
Right. And so that's the point.
So they're running a risk.
Exactly. And that's the point, is that they're running the risk of producing, assuming that people are reacting to it and wanting it, versus putting something small out, seeing the reaction, having people pre-order it, and then producing. It's less wasteful. It's a smarter financial decision. It's less risk. Like, I think that approach, more brands should be adapting that. And I'm very proud of it being a Black brand that came up with this strategy.
Yes.
So shout out to our people, okay?
I'm snapping.
Our people.
We are always setting the trend.
I mean, again, so, give it up to Telfar. This is the solution. To me, again, it's always so simple. This is what you want? Okay, I'll make it for you. Give me a couple months. It's literally,
it's almost like couture. It's almost like couture.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, listen, we made this beautiful couture gown. Mm-hmm. Hey, you see it? Place your order. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want it? Place your order. It's non-refundable. You're purchasing it, period. Yeah. And it makes people think, like, do I actually want this item? I cannot get a refund on it. There's no I got it and I changed my mind. Now I want a different color. It's like, you're getting what you get what you ask for.
I mean, Nick, think about all the pre-orders we would do, and then it come around and it's time to pay for those pre-orders.
And we're like, why would I buy that? But we still, but you know what? We were fortunate enough to be able to pre-order, but we also weren't allowed to return it. So it was when we pre-ordered stuff, we really sat there in the Dries showroom, in the Philip Lim showroom, sitting like, okay, I know I want this item. But it's fine. I know I'm not going to get it for 4 to 6 months, but I know I'm going to want it. It's special to me. And you didn't go crazy just buying a bunch of stuff because you knew you couldn't return it. And I think that's what's beautiful.
But you know why this works now and it didn't work before? And I'm just thinking about this is because generally retailers or generally brands would rely heavily on the wholesale accounts. So the wholesale accounts literally were the bread and butter of the brand that kept them going. So if you're selling to, your accounts with Saks or Neiman's or Bergdorf's, that's your bread and butter. That's where you're making the money. So now that direct to consumer buying is literally the thing that's keeping all these brands afloat, like selling on your own e-commerce site, selling in your own retail spaces, because the wholesale stores have collapsed. The department stores aren't there anymore. They don't have the money to buy all these brands and to invest in all these brands because they don't have the foot traffic. People aren't going into those stores. People aren't shopping like that. So that's why it works now. It's all about direct to consumer buying. It's all about literally going to my specific customer, giving my specific customer what I want, what they want, making it directly for them. And you also get to know exactly who your consumer is, and you can create product just for them. But that wasn't the case because brands and, big names relied so heavily on the wholesale accounts. Literally, Saks and all those companies, they were the driving force. They were bringing in so much money. So that's why they were so heavy. And the buyers would come to the shows and they would place mass orders in, this, look 12 and look 3. And I want that more commercial look, or add this sleeve or drop this hemline. So they were driving it, the buyers, but the buyers really didn't know exactly what the consumers wanted because the consumers changed so much. And that's literally been the breakdown and the collapse of everything. So it's really good to see, again, brands like Telfar and all small brands and small businesses really doing direct to consumer buying and literally investing money into their own e-commerce and their own sites and literally just selling everything there.
And I guess
No,
go, Nicole.
Wait, I was going to say, which kind of brings me, you're saying small, which we didn't talk about the other dress that broke the internet.
I was just going to say,
a small designer.
Yep.
That strawberry dress. That's it.
Jen, do you want to intro?
Small designer, custom.
Yeah. So, there's this strawberry dress that's gone viral online by Larika Matashi. And it's kind of funny because, what we're talking about, how is fashion now when basically we're just sitting at home or whatnot. And it's like, okay, Telfar had this great idea, and then this is just something that completely exploded online. And now it's the hottest dress of the summer. It's this pink dress with glitter strawberries. And originally, Tess Holliday had worn it to the Grammys a couple months ago. And I guess there was this online controversy about, people were trolling her online. And then now it's this giant, huge hit now that a lot of other influencers are wearing it.
People were not just trolling her. They put her on the worst dress list.
But she was being put on the worst dress list. And then all of a sudden, there are thinner influencers and people that are wearing it all over Instagram and TikTok, and it's this big hit. So there's two questions about this dress. A, now it's sold out. So I guess, again, it's like, it goes to show
it's direct to consumer.
Direct to consumer.
It shows the power of the internet. We're just scrolling for hours. And then also culturally, there is a problem if, all of a sudden when it's on thinner influencers and whatnot, that all of a sudden this dress is sold out. So what are you guys' thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm not shocked at the fact that it took a thin white influencer to put the dress on for it to be accepted, right? I mean, it's like, that's what it is. Even with, taking from other cultures, it's like when we do it, it's ghetto, whatever, or like,
and then
it's
when
all
a thin white person does it, all of a sudden
cool.
It's the hottest thing.
It's the hottest thing. And so I'm really not shocked by that.
Yeah, and also I just feel like you have to take into context like who Tess Holliday is and like her personality. Like, she's not a girl who's gonna be in like some black, slim, sleek look. Like, she's fun. She has tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, that's, she has the makeup, the glitter makeup. Like, that's who her personality is. Like, she loves, that sort of thing. So, novelty.
But they wanted to see it on like a basic skinny white girl.
And that's
they didn't want to see it on someone who has pizzazz.
That's
and
the problem.
Is like
and they,
just extra.
That's the problem. It's like this, beautiful curved woman has started this trend, but they don't want to give her props for starting the trend. So they give it to the Instagram, TikTok.
But I also think that people, are so literal where they look at someone and there's like, oh, this person looks like me, is this and this and that. Okay, how do I replicate it? Even if they don't look like you, it's like, oh, I want to look like this person, right? So how do I become that thing? So, I think because Tess has her own unique like personality and style, like it's not so easy for people who are so literal to translate that, right? So it takes somebody very pared down, like kind of just like a blank palette, like nothing interesting about the person. Yeah, a blank canvas to like put the thing on and then it becomes a moment.
Yeah. Strawberry fields. Which I don't know.
Which again,
the dress wasn't for me.
But which again, as a whole, the conversation is why us, people working in the industry, have to continuously push for representation. It's like it has to be normalized.
Yeah,
where it's just not a thin white person, and then it sells. Of
course, because you're not going to relate if you're not familiar with this this curved girl.
It's all about getting
into
people's minds. It's
and relating.
A psychological thing of why we have to push culturally. What people think is acceptable and what's not. So
Right.
Anyway.
So the more we push for these images, the more it becomes the norm and people understand it.
Yeah. So the blank. So you don't need a blank canvas to try to relate to something. You should be able to relate to.
You mean
it.
blank palette?
Be yourself. You just gotta be yourself.
Blank canvas,
yourself.
Blank palette.
Just blankety blank.
Right. We know what blank is.
Winner of the week. Speaking of pushing boundaries. Let's go. Winner of the week. Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Yes.
Kamala for sure.
Kamala Harris and her pearls. Shout out to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
We knew Nick was going to say that. We already knew she was going to say that.
But listen, she won, first Black woman on a presidential ticket. Like, it's just... it's just amazing. Yeah. She went to an HBCU. Yeah. Everything about it is just groundbreaking. I was fortunate enough to be able to let my grandmother know that there was the vice presidential pick was a Black woman, and she cried on the phone. She's 96 years old.
So cute.
She's like, I'm so excited. You know, she's been in a nursing home, just, you know, not like anything permanent, just like a little quick stay. She broke her hip.
Yeah.
So it was just like, she didn't know. She's not really watching the news like that. And she cried. She was wow. And then I talked to my grandfather, who's her husband. He's 99, and he was like,
oh my gosh.
I told you in 2016 that I was going to live 4 more years to vote because I was not going out like this. And now I am even more excited.
That's
and he
amazing,
said he's so
Nick.
excited. And he would normally mail in his ballot. He's like, I'm not even mailing it in. Like, I will risk it all. I'm risking it all. I'm going to vote. I want to make sure my vote counts because there was a huge portion of his life where his vote, he wasn't allowed to vote.
Yeah.
His vote didn't count. He went through so much.
Yeah.
He's like from Alabama. So I'm just going to give it up to Kamala. Also, the fact that during her acceptance speech that she wore that burgundy, like wine colored suit, and where everyone else would have worn like blue, their party's colors. It was always like a blue or red or white. And she was just like wearing his burgundy suit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a powerful woman. I don't need to like do this and that. I felt it so much.
I'm
Anyway,
not going to
that's my 2
fight with
cents.
you guys on her winning the week. I'll say maybe it was a tie because I think that Michelle Obama set the tone on Monday night. When she started off that convention, that speech, everybody was on fire. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the full day of the full convention, like on day one. And I was like, okay, I get it. And then when she closed the day, I was like, okay, sis, I hear you.
Yes. I'm going to give them both. It's a tie. Because the amount of secret shade she threw, I was like, yes, Black women are
She
amazing.
set the tone. She really set the tone. And she also had a major... She also had a major fashion moment, which was that vote necklace, which was which was by a Black woman's jewelry company by Chari Cheer. I forgot to say that.
By Shari,
Shari. But it was another Black woman. So, you know, shout out to Black women winning again this week.
Black women won this week.
Black women.
Wait, can we go back to Kamala not wearing white and that being a symbol of the suffragette movement? I feel like that was really significant, you know?
I just think like she's like everyone else is wearing it. Like I just am going to wear something that makes me feel good, makes me show I'm powerful. I don't need to like play into wearing. Because I feel like whenever it's always like a man as a candidate, they're always wearing, you know, a navy or a black suit. And then their tie is either red or blue.
Exactly.
And she was just like wearing burgundy.
Yeah.
I think
I like the suit. It looks good on me.
Yeah. She powerfully made her statement. I am a Black woman. Right. I am a woman of Indian descent. You know, this is who I am. I went to the HBCU and I'm accepting, like, it's historical, it's monumental. And I think that she played it correctly and she did as she should have. And she looked great.
I think there's going to be
amazing.
a lot of key moments coming out of, like, fashion moments coming from this campaign. With Kamala being there. Remember, J-Rod, we were talking earlier about the Howard sweatshirt and how we're going to see everybody, even people who didn't go to Howard, wearing that Howard sweatshirt.
HBCU. You know you ain't going to HBCU.
We're going to see some non-Black people with that sweatshirt on, okay?
Take that sweatshirt off.
I'm going to see a lot of people wearing their pink and green, and I'm going to be looking at them like,
They're going to be
They're
going to be rapping.
I'm going to buy one for our next video.
The Howard sweatshirt.
She's an honorary alum.
She gonna buy an AKA Howard sweatshirt that says vote on the back. It's really looking to nut. So I hope.
Yeah, vote. So make sure everybody is registered to vote. Please, guys. It's so important.
Vote.
Please vote. We could find a way to drop a link to have people register too if they need to know where to go.
Definitely.
Anyway,
where to vote, and it's like, listen, y'all go out there and vote, get your mail-in ballots in. And for some of you, you know, if you're able to, just go to the poll and vote. Go drop off your ballot at the, like, just do what you got to do. Right. Make your voice heard. And wear
a look.
You know.
Have some fun
and wear a look when you go vote.
Get dressed up for the poll. Take those sweatpants off.
Take a picture and send it to us.
Take those sweatpants off. Get out the house and wear a look.
Take a picture.
Go out there and looking classy and voting.
Tag us.
Buy a strawberry dress.
Buy
a sheer Fendi dress.
Go out there
and go vote.
Go out there looking ratchet, looking classy. Look however you want to look. Exercise your right. Yes. Exercise your right.
Guys, when you go out in your looks, please tag us and we will repost it and share all your looks, your voting looks. We're here for it. Okay.
Anyway.
Yes.
All right.
Any other closing remarks before we wrap up this week's episode? I think we got it all covered, guys.
I think we got it all.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us again. This is episode 2 of Priority Standing Podcast. Again, my name is Tiffany. We're here with Jen, Nicole, and J-Rod, and we will be here every week to talk to you about fashion moments happening, current events, pop culture events, old anecdotes, etc. So we hope you join, love, subscribe, and give us some feedback because we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.